price for a startup guy, when you start building, and for someone like you who already has an experience of a retail franchise like Vishal Mega Mart? Please tell us a little about, the learnings from Vishal Mega Mart. How did you apply it to Bhikshu Bazaar?
A lot of learnings from retail. So biggest learning is seeing India very closely across geographies, across states. Seeing the consumption story going. Seeing the broken supply chain model. How the walk-in retail and the conventional retail people are really struggling to build large businesses which can be integrated into one India.
True.
And a lack of talent in organized retail. So all that said, yes, India growth story has to happen. Consumption is growing at a massive pace. Retailing is doing the better 30-40% growth, but still not catching up the regular growth also. So how do you see this plugging into Insidious e-commerce is the solution. And when we really look deep into it, I told myself it looks that India on paper look to me the far more conducive territory for e-commerce than anywhere else in the world. US, Europe, China, we are far. There's an opportunity which could be larger than anywhere we have seen. So just build it. So that's how we started. And the fundamentals of retailing are the same, whether you do it electronically or you do it on the physical real estate. So the same fundamentals we're using. So far so good.
Exactly. I think that's a Vishal Mega Mart, credible franchise in terms of what they built. The only retail franchise to get to 110 cities and expansion. But what exactly do you think went wrong, if I may call it so? TPG took over, and you've been with the senior partners there. What exactly do you think were the decisions which, in the hindsight, you guys would have taken, you did not, and which you would not like to repeat in future for Bhikshu Bazaar?
So when I look back, I still feel that that was more a balance sheet problem than the company level problem.
Okay.
In that company, so because the company still survives, and it's a similar top line what the company was doing 2 years, 3 years ago. And I still feel that company is still the true Walmart of India with 110 cities. Yes, the shareholding pattern changed in the company in the last 1 year, and somebody else owns the company. That's the only difference, which happens all the time across the world. But the company is still strong and going stronger.
Okay, so you're saying time in terms of raising the equity was...
So that was a capital structure issue of debt and equity. It got addressed, new shareholders came in and reorganized that structure. But when you look at what's happening on the stores, how many stores, how much turnover, how much of margins, etc., I think the company is still very robust and healthy. And during that phase, we also learned how to really consolidate and manage a large back-end infrastructure. The fundamental mistakes we did on building the warehousing and the back-end, we went out across the states and said this is not going to work in India. Seen a situation of efficiencies coming in where you brought down 11 lakh square feet of warehousing to 4.5 lakhs. Brought down the working capital cycles from 500 crores to 180 crores.
Absolutely.
So those were the good learnings at the bad times. For certain level of scale, what was the most efficient way to build? Someone has a grip on.
You're a retail veteran now, so to say, in terms of Vishal Mega Mart, what you're doing now. Organized retail in India is not really making money. Why exactly do you think that people are getting it wrong? And where the piece is missing?
No, they're not getting wrong. I think there was a lot of evolution which has happened in the last 6-7 years. I see a lot of maturity coming in the last 2-3 years, which was not there for 5 years ago. And people are doing some good job now. And that had to learn. So we knew it that there was a learning phase when people were hiring in 2005, 6, 7. There wasn't any retail experience there. So now there is an industry which is maturing and has now got about 6 years or 7 years of age. So we are seeing some serious scale, serious business and serious maturity coming into that industry.
You said
we have a $2 billion retail company now, which we thought will not happen 7-8 years ago. And a physical retail $2 billion enterprise has come into this country in less than 10 years.
Absolutely.
So the largest retailer in the country today got its first professional funding in 2001. And in 2011 they are a $2 billion company. And that's what makes me feel that why will not India produce its first $1 billion e-commerce company in 5 years? If a walk-in retail can come and become a $2 billion in 10 years, with all the difficulties which we had, we didn't have real estate to set up stores. We didn't have the vendors, organized vendors to service that kind of scale. We didn't have that culture in the company where people go out to their air-conditioned malls with shopping carts and go out shopping. All that has changed in the last 10 years. And the way internet is going to transform and the digital is going to transform next 5 years is very different than the way it has been in 10 years. So look at the future and then say, can this happen? Yes, very much. It has happened across the globe, why not in India? We have in China, we've got a $2 billion enterprise staring at us in less than 5 years.
Absolutely.
So India is no different.
So how did the entire Alibaba Big Shoe Bazaar really come about, and why did you only choose shoes as a primary category to foray into?
Yeah, so we chose shoes because we thought shoes would be one of the most difficult categories to deal with on online.
Difficult category?
Difficult categories.
Okay.
The conviction was that you want to go out and build a large e-commerce business, a multi-category departmental store. So how
that was the vision from the beginning?
From the beginning.
Okay.
So how do you go about doing it? So one way is when we looked at, one large e-commerce business in India was only eBay when we looked at it, the marketplace model. So we thought that's not going to work in India because organized retail in India is only 5-6 years old, and there are not a lot of issues at the back end, supplies, etc. So we have worked with an own inventory model, so which therefore the warehousing came into play, the fulfillment centers came into play. So let's build this. We looked at the more successful versions in the West, how they started 10 years ago, 15 years ago, and then we looked at most of them and say, the differentiator really lied in the guys who built the back end first, and then went out to build the front end. So we said, there's no winner, let's start building the back end. Which category you choose? We said, easier ones are the electronics, books, etc. There's so many people doing it, so let's choose a different category. And choose a one which is a little more complicated so that you handle the difficult questions of the business upfront in the first year itself. And you do that straight, and then you will be in a far more comfortable place to show horizontal and add categories. So for first 1 year of business, we just didn't look at any other category itself. And once that was done, a lot of learnings came into the way what is going to work in e-commerce, what are the really logistical and back-end problems, address that. And so now you're very comfortable to go out and start building categories.
Absolutely.
So if you see last 5-6 months, we're really been ramping on categories. On the fashion side, we're completely done almost. Clothes and bags, and glasses, watches, we're getting into electronics a little bit now. Started movies.
So the key was to fix the backend first, right?
Key was to fix the backend first. That is what, and I think we have now very comfortably built. I'm very proudly saying that this company has the best and the most robust backend in the Indian e-commerce today. And now we are going to address the customer-facing issues, that how do we really get more visibility, branding,
Absolutely.
and acquire customers at a faster pace.
Okay, I think you are one of the few companies who got the formula of fixing the backend first and then go to the front end. In terms of warehousing and having your own inventory, what kind of steps did you take?
Large brand and said, look, we want to sell shoes online. So nobody just believed that's going to happen. Brands who believed, they also said that it's going to be very small channels. Okay, they want to do something, so tie them up with some distributor, etc. We kept on saying it's going to be a very large format business, have trust. Now they come back and say, yes, you are right. And for some brands, they come and tell us that we are now the single largest or the number one modern retail format channel or a key account. We feel happy about it. People have not understood our business is an online wholesale cash and carry portal. BigShoeBazaar.net is an online store of cash and carry wholesale business. And we have reached out to retailers who just log in there and order online real time. So whatever inventory we have, it's accessible to all retailers on a real time basis. So there's a zero business in the company which is offline. So entire 100% business is through the medium of internet.
Why wholesale? By particularly wholesale cash and carry?
That's why we try to address the broken supply chain model of the tier 2, tier 3 store. There are retailers, there are a whole lot of retailers. We've seen this debate of offline and the modern retail versus unorganized retail. There's a serious consensus now that the small so-called mom and pop retailers are going to stay here, and they're not going anywhere. So if they're going to be staying here, then there has to be a better way to organize their supply chain. And this model we feel is really helping them building and working, making their stores work on just-in-time inventory model. Access to a large inventory base, so much of variety, and they can really connect what their consumers want to buy. Opposed to the traditional distribution model where brand which I made something and push it to the distribution.
Did you have that kind of capital to begin with, to have that kind of inventory?
Oh, it's been building day by day only. So when we started with a capital of 1.5 lakh rupees, and then we had a range of round of investments. So
Okay.
that gave us some space, and we had Series A, we did Series B. Look back and say, the team has been really, really lucky in getting the right capital at the right time. And
You know, how important is for an entrepreneur to take a decision of raising capital?
extremely important. And one of the learnings I have is raise it whenever it is available.
Yeah. In terms of your shoes category, I mean, who are your major clientele? Is it drawn from the tier 2, tier 3, or the markets like Bombay, Delhi?
Wholesale business are 100% retailers who are accessing us are from tier 2, tier 3, tier 4, 5 cities also.
Wow.
And
That's what the big market is, right?
yeah. And our B2C franchise people again are well balanced, and half of them come from top 5, 6 cities, others who I could imagine would come from tier 2, tier 3 cities.
So B2C is Yevi.com, right?
Yes, right.
Okay, can you just put Yevi.com in terms of what's the entire rationale behind Yevi and then Bhikshu Bazaar?
So BhikshuBazaar.com, as I said, is a completely shoe-focused brand, and then we said that we would want to go horizontal and add more categories. So therefore, we had to think of a new name. And so business is still at an early stage, so we can afford to rebrand it. So that's how.
What was the need and why didn't you just like stay focused only on shoes? So you think you're missing the bus, too many people getting into so many categories and
I don't think we are missing the bus. The focus was very clearly looking at the large opportunities and go out and build it. So it's only step by step. I don't think this company is into race with anybody. We have a very clear roadmap where we are heading for, and we are doing it step by step. It's a very clear, very large opportunity to do.
okay, so what exactly is the end game in terms of what exactly is the vision for you, Bhikshu Bazaar? What do you want to
We
be?
will be a very large wholesale player, and with our B2C franchise, which is Yevi, will be the most popular household brand of shopping,
Okay.
of home shopping, internet shopping.
So you think that Yevi, Bhikshu Bazaar and these kind of models can take over Pantaloon retail or a Future Bazaar or you know these kind of comparables in proper retail, in organized
They will
retail?
100% take over.
What makes you think that?
Because these kind of formats will be able to reach out to the customer much faster than a physical retailer would go. I was doing my math yesterday, and nobody could give me the real data. I said, what is the daily footfall of top 100 malls in India? And whatever guesswork we did, it didn't come more than 1 million customers every day. It's much lesser than that. So next 12 months, this mall will have, or this store will have 1 million footfalls every day. So that becomes the largest shopping destination anywhere in the world.
True,
You
true.
know, when that happens, you won't have 100,000 fashion products showcasing in any mall. It still have. So what else do you need? You have all the brands, you have all the categories, you have all the variety, and you have all the people coming over there. Commerce will take place.
Absolutely. So in terms of, you know, we've seen Make My Trip and Yatra and these kind of companies having an offline physical presence also. Because in India, people have this feeling that they want to see something physically present. Would you be going into that, having offline Bhikshu Bazaar stores, perhaps something like that?
No, we did some franchise stores at the early stage of the business. We are not expanding that business anymore.
Any particular reason?
That has a limitation of scaling.
Okay.
So initially we wanted that to go to get that trust going in the customer that there's a face. It's not a virtual company, an internet company the way they will proceed. I think I've crossed that stage now. So there's no need for us to grow in that business because inherently that formats have the limitations of scale.
In terms of your revenues, I think we are privately held company.
Right.
In terms of, are you profitable yet?
Yes and no. I have to say that this business has to now grow organically, like any good growing business grows, which is 20-30% year on year. It's a breaking business right now,
Okay.
and rather profitable. We will turn profitable tomorrow if I wish to. But where we are investing now is investing on building the scale capacity for handling large scales and getting in more branding and marketing, etc. in place. That is where we are spending money, and that is where the nature of expenses are opaque, so therefore they are charged to revenue. But if I have to take that out and treat them as a long-term investment, then we are profitable.
Where exactly are your money is going in terms of expansion plans, like inventory?
Maybe we
building,
have invested very significantly on back end, very significantly.
getting the inventory.
Getting the inventory, getting the fulfillment centers in place. So we have one large box fulfillment center format right now, and a lot of capex has gone there. We are hiring people there, training them, who can handle scales. So that's where the investments are.
What is e-commerce according to you, and what is success for e-commerce?
So interesting. I mean, e-commerce has got two components to my mind, and it has got E and then the commerce. And then the commerce part has got 4 or 5 elements attached to it. Commerce it starts from sourcing, warehousing, fulfillment, customer care, and customers.
Absolutely.
So these are the 5 elements to it. So I think we have fixed 3 of them very, very nicely. We are now going out and fixing the 2 others.
Customer care, you think?
Customer care also we have fixed. I think we are now going to get the awareness and marketing and marketing.
Okay. In terms of the E thing, how important is the E thing? How are you getting that right?
E thing is only internet.
Yeah. You think in India the internet penetration levels are justified enough to
I don't know why we discuss this penetration level. I always fail to understand. India's got an internet population which is far higher than a lot of countries. You can argue whether it's 60 million or 100 million. I am not bothered even if it is 30 million. You don't need 30 million internet users to build $1 billion e-commerce company. You don't need. All you need is $3 to $5 million, 3 to 5 million customers.
But when do you think you can become a $1 billion enterprise?
Before 2050.
And how are you gearing up with our expansion plans?
So as I said, you have to think that how are you going to handle that scale and what is required to handle that scale. And we're going out to try and build that. Customers are coming in and they're coming in at a fast pace. But the challenge is to ramp up your back end to service them.
Well, what does that mean? Opening more fulfillment centers, getting more warehouse people, everything?
Absolutely.
Okay.
It's all about speed. If you have an order, we get 2 orders a minute now, and I have to ship it out also. So my team is now working on a target that we have to ship out every order in less than 1 hour of intake of order. Key challenges are at the back end. All those challenges are at the back end. And if you have fixed that, there aren't really too many issues on the front end.
Payment and everything is, you think, is good level of payment mechanism?
It's fair. I won't say it's excellent. It's fair. It's evolving, and it's not a challenge really, which will put you in a spot and say, okay, I can't grow the business because of this issue. I don't see that as a challenge.
What are the kind of global comparables should you have? What are the kind of global comparison on likes of which you are building this enterprise?
Yeah, see, there are Western companies which are inspirational, and they've done a damn good job. What they have done in this 10 years or 15 years only. Internet retail is only 15 years.
Absolutely.
And we have a company in front of us with a $40 billion top line in 15 years. So you can't forget that. We have others who have not been able to do that. Got stuck a lot earlier, just couldn't scale up. We have companies in other developing nations who have been, look at us 3 years or 5 years, they've been able to produce $500 million, $2 billion.
Do you have some names in terms of that?
Yeah, one of the companies I really like is 360buy.com of China. It really inspires me much more than any other company because it's the way they have grown and built that traction.
And they also fix the backend first.
And they were the ones who fixed the backend first, right?
Yeah.
And then there are other the fashion categories also in China which are very inspiring. So there are a lot of inspirations around.
In terms of like category building from shoes to like talking about Yemi now in terms of getting into horizontal thing. So how are you different from other e-commerce websites in India? If you were to tell me about the USP for Yemi?
I think what is required.
Because we are seeing so many e-commerce websites around us.
Yeah, so there aren't many, I think. There aren't many in my mind. There are only 2 or 3 whom I really think are going to really go and build some large traction. And I don't think any of them have really fixed the backend issue really the way it has to be fixed, or it should be fixed to my mind. I mean, they might be doing some great job which is relevant to their categories and it works for that category. But if you really have to go on building a lot horizontal play, there are going to be various ways of addressing a back-end issue for a different category, different ways.
So what exactly have you done to fix the backend?
I've seen 4 evolutions in 2 years. So when we started this, our first was a 400 square feet, which went to 4,000 immediately in 3 months. Then it went to 25,000 in another 6 months. And about 1 year it's gone to about 100,000 square feet now. But yes, we are doing the way some of the large guys have done in the past. Build one large warehouse, get everything there, look at your merchandise planning, category planning, the way any retailer would do, manage your stock turnover ratios, manage your fulfillment rates, stock fill rates, and go out with the customer and say, this is what I have to offer. So that's a different, that's what we have done differently. We've got one large single warehouse where we own the inventory, we keep it there and say, okay, we'll take all the inventory risk, and then now go out to offer to the customer. That gives us ability in sourcing, that gives us ability for us to go out to the customers, both retailers and the retail customers, and say, okay, this is the value proposition I bring to you.
Absolutely. How cyclical is this business in terms of, I'm sure when the organized retail gets really hit when the cycle comes, huge real estate costs, debt overhang, these kind of structures. In an online e-commerce enterprise, and also you have an inventory risk that you take. What if the spending power is really curtailed? People stop.
We haven't seen any spending power curtailing in this country in the last 10 years at least.
Okay.
There's more discussion around it. I haven't seen any downturn on consumption. Even in 2008, there's so much of talk going on. I didn't see any downturn in consumption. Whatever 5-10% effect was there, that was also because we talked so much about recession. So there was some element of doubt in customers' mind. There wasn't really too much of downturn. So it's a huge consumption we're talking about. It's growing at, even at the real terms, it goes at 8-10% year on year. It's massive.
Absolutely.
And
So
we still continue to be a very small player in that whole consumption cycle. So I don't really think that's too much to worry around that issue.
how big can this business become? How scalable it is?
As big as you can think of.
Yeah. You think of listing it in one point of time?
That's not there on my mind as of now, but some stage, yes, because there are investors who have to think of when and where you have to take it. But in foreseeable future, I don't think there is any hurry for that.
So you're saying you can take over physical retail very easily in terms of online
In
retail?
India, 100%. You'll see an online retailer much larger than a physical retailer in less than 5 years.
You can raise money from investors like Nexus and of course the Murthy's Catamaran. I would really want to know how was your interaction with Mr. Murthy in terms of getting him to invest into your company?
A man of his stature and what he's done in technology
Absolutely.
world, not for the country but for the whole world. He understands technology better than anybody else in the world, I think. So I think he's excited about the business, should be. And we took him, when there was an interest, we said we must have him on our side.
On the board,
definitely help the company in the long run. And that's why we had him.
Okay, in terms of the final questions that he asked you, basically, how was interaction?
So yes, he wanted to understand the way the business can be scaled to. So anybody as an investor would want to know where are the scales and what kind of scales we are aiming at, and how will the profit and loss account look like at various scales of the business. So which are more investment oriented discussions, which I think just where anybody would want to.
So what exactly expansion plans going to do in terms of hiring people, ramping capabilities, just give us some things you want to.
Yes, we've got about 800 people working with the company now. I think by the time we exit this financial year, we'll have about 1,500 people working. So about 250 people will be the corporate side, and balance will be on the customer care and the fulfillment side. Agility, ability to move fast. This is what consumer wants. You should be able to sense that, and you should have a strong back end where you can go and say, okay, how fast can I get to the customer? Okay, let me answer this in 2 parts. These are early days. So these are good days, early days. We'll see far more serious investing happening in this space as in the near future. As for valuations, I don't think they're stretched or there's a lot talked about in media also about this, these valuations, bubbles, etc. I don't think these are bubbles. They're serious businesses which are there. And the valuations which are looking very expensive now will really look very cheap 2 years down the line. Customer acquisition cost is really completely under control, and I think we have the best cost of customer acquisition. On the accounting practices, I really can't comment what those are doing, neither do I have any access to what they are really doing. But I can only talk about what we do and follow some of the most conservative accounting practices. And don't like to keep any fictitious asset on books at the expense of everything in the same period. So that's what we do. And
you also offer discounts to your products, right?
we offer discounts.
Okay.
So we do counting whatever we say, what is the realized sale and the cash which comes to the company.
So how do you afford to make discounts and still eat?
That is what I keep on saying about back-end and sourcing. That's where the crux is.
Okay.
You should have that ability to get the best products at the best prices and pass on value to the customer, which makes the exciting business.
Well, whom do you source it from? Like brands?
All brands.
Local retailers?
No local retailers, no distributors. We like to deal only with the brands directly, and there's a direct buying which happens with the brand. We get integrated with their season plan. We work with them for, my merchandising team is working with them for spring season 2012 plan. 6 months, 8 months ahead plan.
So I'm sure you source from them at discounted prices?
Yeah, we enjoy economies of scale. So as the business evolves, we get better pricing, better terms. It works both for us and the brand. Oh yes, you see the online space only get ignored now. People are just beginning to realize. I speak with a lot of offline retailers. I see this very serious interest, and all of them are excited to go out and build their own online stores. So that ecosystem is developing. I think this company has now reached a stage where it's got some traction and some headway where it's beneficial for every brand to be part of this platform. So they can immediately get eyeballs, visibility to the various demographies. And at the same time also, if you like to build your own online distribution, this is the place to be. This is very good for the industry.
Okay.
Right? Somebody world-class companies established coming into a new territory and saying, I'm going to set up a business here, only kills all that inhibition and doubts which we talked in this discussion. Is this business going to stay? Yes, it's going to stay. Because the largest player in the world says, I'm going to come here and look, this market is great and it's time to start building it. And therefore we'll go out and building that market's place faster and stronger than what all of us are doing today. So I think that's good news for the industry, and people should be happy about it.